GMLJ, and welcome back to another episode of Let Loose with Moose. I'm sure with that intro, you know who's on with me today.
I'm doing good, man.
GMLJ.
GMLG indeed. I don't know how it caught on. I don't know how everyone decided that was the catchphrase, but yeah, we're sticking to it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so, without further ado, I'll be super interested to hear about your background and, of course, how you started in
Yeah.
crypto.
Well, background. I found out about crypto probably about, I think sometime 2015, 2016, but I never really paid attention to it until I had like a friend of mine tell me to buy ETH at about, I think it was $100 at the time. Sometime, what, 20, yeah, probably 2017, like right before it started going parabolic. I bought a small amount, and then a year later, or like what, 8 months later, then he texts me or he calls me. He goes, "Dude, your ETH is now 1,400 each, bro. You need to sell it." So then I tried and log into my wallet, but then I'm a genius and I forgot my password, and I also didn't back up my seed phrase. And I also thought that actually in crypto you could just email customer support and get your
Oh,
password
man.
reset. So that was my introduction to crypto. I was like, okay, shit, that's money I've lost. Then I basically kept it at the back of my mind until about 2020, till like sort of the COVID March dip when I saw it. I was like, oh, this looks really good. I should buy some. I obviously didn't because I was a pussy. But then when it started recovering really well in August and ETH started doing well, you had DeFi Summer, Chainlink, and all the new tokens started emerging. I was like, hey, I should buy some of this. I should start figuring out how this works. I started like DCAing and accumulating. And then obviously like things went up. I had a nice run in the bull run. I lost a good amount in the bear, kept some, and then basically just stuck around till now. Yeah. That's the TLDR of my story in crypto.
Nice, nice. Was there like a lot of ETH that was lost, or I should say, like contributed to lesser selling pressure?
Dude, I don't. I've seen like how much gas my main wallets have spent, especially from last cycle, and I look at how much EVE is spent and how much EVE I've locked away. I'm like, man, that's a very good contribution to the foundation. I've helped decentralize the supply in as much as I can.
Yeah, man. And so like you more active during the 2021 period, I assume? Like were you super involved in
Yeah,
2020 DeFi summer? Like what
yeah. I
chains were
was.
you
I
on?
was. I caught the late stage of DeFi summer, but then I got a lot more into crypto from late 2020 into sort of the whole year of 2021. I got to see sort of the rise and fall of the big Ponzi schemes. Ohm was super fun for me to play.
Mm-hmm.
I found a shit ton of Ohm forks really early just by always scouting Twitter. I found also a few decent alts. Like I think was it Cadena was a nice one. Cadena was super cheap right before we had the second alt leg, and then because I was scouring Biz for like 2 hours every other day. Then I found that early as well. So yeah, it was a lot of the stuff that I capitalized on in the last cycle was just sort of my own research and just grinding it out and trying to find, all right, where's the next pump? What's the next coin? What's the next narrative? Whereas now it's kind of shifted a little bit more because I've networked a lot in the space and people are sending me coins and tickers all the time. So for me, now it's more of a little bit less of constant research, but a lot more of paying attention to what people are saying, seeing the new trends, seeing whatever tickers are good, and yeah, just playing the market that way.
Nice. And since you mentioned about keeping up with what's trending and all, right? What's your
Yeah.
best source of information? Like how do you keep up with everything, right? Because things move so quickly in this
Yeah.
space.
Yes. Yeah, so typically I'm on Discord or Telegram. That's where I get the majority of my information first. But then I usually, because I do a lot of stuff on chain, so then I obviously combine it with Twitter. So there'll be different Twitter accounts that I follow, that I track, that I see what they're aping into, what they're calling. A whole list of just very good shitcoiner accounts or like very good influencer accounts. And then I'm always looking for sort of confluence and seeing where not just one of them calls a coin, but if several of them call it. And I also know that they're not, say, if we'll say like in the pre-sale itself, whereas they're dudes that are just on chain that are good traders or good callers. If I see a confluencer, then I will definitely get it back. Like that's sort of my general informational flow is usually when I get up in the morning after I wake up, chill up for a little bit, it's looking through Discord, TG. seeing what people are saying, because obviously the market shifts from day to day, sentiment shifts as well. So seeing if there's like any like, oh shit, funding's overheated, we're gonna have a big liquidation wipeout, we better close all the leverage or whatnot. Or people are saying like, oh shit, like leverage is out, funding looks stable, it's time to go long. So that's sort of like the yeah, the daily crypto routine. And then obviously I have a watch list of different coins and tickers that I'll check in the morning as well. I check throughout the day just once or twice to see where they're at. Because there'll be coins that I obviously want to like accumulate on dips. There are coins that I'm looking to see, oh, are they finally breaking out? Should I get a position? Basic stuff like that. You know, I keep it very simple.
Got it, got it. Like, would there be any accounts or any source of information that you would recommend?
I like the guys that are followed by Veritas Limited. Well, because that's my DAO. So, but yeah, no, those guys are really good for just seeing what new trends might emerge in the market because you're really tapped in. There's a few others as well, but I'll mention those to you in private.
Nice. Right. Yeah, then, I've seen you talk quite a lot about all the shitters right now, right? Like you're more
Yeah,
vocal, more active in there, but I'm quite curious
yeah,
on how your portfolio allocation looks like and like how's the sizing in
yeah.
each of them.
Yeah. So in general, obviously, I got whole spot that I just don't touch. You know, ETH, BTC, Doge, Sol. Then I'll have a stack for pups that if there's an easy long and there's an easy trade, then I'm making sure that I'm capitalizing on that. Then I'll obviously have a stack for on-chain memes, like stuff that I size into a little bit more. But then at the same time, I'm not just aping into like random tickers on Dextrina and say sort of like memes, coins, protocols that have ranges, they've got levels, they've got a chart established, so you can kind of tell like, oh, it's going to be good, it's going to be bad. Same thing with NFTs as well. There's always so it's good to hold some Remilio and My Lady NFTs. I think those are like the price action on them obviously is not going to send to like 50 or 100 ETH immediately, but it's because it's just such a diehard community and people always sort of rotate on-chain profits into them. So I always find them as just a very good moat to kind of have. And then of course there's a small little percentage where I just yeet into whatever random shitcoin someone sends me. And hopefully sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it makes my day, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, man, and I mean on the Remelios and Milady's part, like
Yeah.
recently we have the wormhole airdrop, right? Or in fact, on the day
Hmm.
of recording right now, wormhole has just dropped, and all these holders have quite a bit of wormhole allocated to them as well. So interested to see how,
Yeah.
what else they would get.
Yeah.
Yeah, like do you see like these two collections being like the next gen NFT leaders along with Pudgies and all?
I think they already are. It's just more of the price hasn't really caught up to that thesis, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big reason why a lot of sort of degens that and sort of crypto natives that stuck around in the bear market may not want to buy My Ladies that much because obviously a shit ton of different folks with the PFPs launch rugs and scam tokens and all that crap. But then they have such a strong community and cultural hold on the space. And there's so many people that still use the PFP that still hold it as just sort of a almost not like a membership card, but you know what I mean. Where sort of like it shows that you're in the club. It shows that you are a part of the culture, a part of the community. So I think because of that, it's sort of just destined to do well. You know, you have diamond because when it comes to NFT collections, obviously art is important, but then I would argue the holders and the community around it is the biggest key because you've kind of seen it with say like pudgies or punks, even with like the Remilia NFTs, where because the community believes so strongly in the culture that they've created around the project, the price automatically holds because people don't want to sell it. And at the same time, you entice new holders and new people to come in and buy the floor and to help boost the floor by just buying and taking the supply off the market, basically. So, and you've seen like another really good example would just be Bitcoin puppets. You know, no one was expecting a
Mm-hmm.
freaking cheap ass mint on Bitcoin would now be what 0.2, 0.3 BTC each. You know, so just seeing how culture comes together and seeing if that culture entices people to come in and entices them to hold. I would argue like that's the best way to sort of look at an NFT. And then obviously there's stuff like the airdrops where if protocols know that the community of those NFTs is diamond handed or helps boost the project or helps with engagement, then of course you're going to give more tokens out. You know, you think of all the various Web3 and like big protocol founders that are all big Pudgy supporters. So obviously, if they build something, they're going to try and reward Pudgy holders. And at the same time, other protocols that are building are going to see, oh shit, this is a collection that has sort of the green light by the space. And as a result, you are just going to see more rewards streaming towards that. You know, obviously, like it's a membership club in some way. You can call it that. You can call it sort of like you have to buy your way in, but at the same time, it just gives you that access. You know, and I think as well, there was math going around where if you bought a Pudgy, what in the bear market, a lot of the airdrops would have already covered your initial or something like that. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of expect that similar thesis to emerge for My Lady or Remilio NFTs, just like what you were asking just now. Sorry, I got a little bit carried away.
Got it, got it. Right, and then going back to the allocation, would you be comfortable sharing like the percentage of how much is like in your cold storage of like Bitcoin and ETH, and like how much
Yeah.
is in your shiters?
So I like going super heavy on shitters, but then the way I always do is like if there's a big win, I just chuck like 50, 60% of the win out into just cold storage, ETH or Sol, you know. Sometimes a little bit of Bitcoin. Or like what I'll do is I'll always chuck it into the best NFTs on those collections, you know. So like right now, getting a few good shitcoin wins. All I'm doing is taking it, bringing it into ETH, buying a few Remilios, buying a few My Ladies, and just sending it off to a cold wallet and chilling out. That's pretty much it. So, yeah. In terms of like percentages, because the shit has swing so much, I tend not to even think of percentages. If that makes sense. Yeah, I'm quite retarded with it. But the way I always do is sort of make sure that you're going higher highs, higher lows. Like obviously you don't oversize into shit that's gonna zero you out, you know, and always look for look for the black swans that can nuke you down. And at the same time also like if you're up big, just take a shit ton out, you know? That's what I like doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. And I'm just curious, do you hold any
Yeah.
percent of cash right now, or are you like balls deep, fully allocated?
Nah, I always have a bit of cash, you know, because I got stuff that brings me income, I have cash flow. So the way I like to do it is I often don't let's see. How can I phrase it? So yeah, I do keep some stables and wallets obviously to buy dips. So like if there's coins that I'm trying to DCA into, I'll have allocated like a stack of stables that I just go, all right, every few days I'm just gonna twop in a position. Every few days I'm gonna put in a little bit more. Every few days I'm gonna put in a little bit more. But beyond that, no, then I have a lot of obviously cash that I keep outside of crypto itself. That then if we, for example, I don't think we are gonna see like a turbo nuke to like I don't know 20, 30K and everything just bleeds again. I think the time for that is long gone. But
Mm-hmm.
it's always I think it's always nice having a good amount of just cash for life expenses and everything outside of crypto. Because I know so many dudes that will run it turbo and like chuck in every paycheck and just hyper gamble as much as they can. I'm honestly not that big a fan of that strategy. I always think if you have just a base of 6 to 12 months of living expenses in cash, then if there is a big nuke and you're like, all right, this is the time to get in, you can just chuck in a huge amount of that into into the final dip and you are probably going to come out all right, you know? So yeah, not sure if that answers it right.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Right, and I mean, since you're talking about the
Hmm.
general market previously, right? Let's
Yeah.
dive into that for a bit. So, what's your thoughts on us moving in the next few weeks leading up to the halving? Right, we're recording this on the 3rd of April,
Hmm.
and halving is expected
Yeah.
to be on the 20th. Like, what's your
Yeah.
take on it? I mean, we're currently down a little bit. Do you see us arranging around here
Yeah.
or going somewhere lower? Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
I mean, right now it just seems like a range, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I like this is that stupid friggin' Euro poor trade of me, but you know, level to level. I think the best, honestly, like, but actually, that is such a good meme to always keep in mind, especially with like majors. I always, because I'm more of an on-chain guy, so I don't really care too much about what majors are doing per se, unless like it looks super overheated. I'm like, all right, everything's gonna fucking minus 50% on-chain in a single day. I better stable up for a little bit. But I think we might see some muted price action leading up to the halving and after it, just because of like how seasonality works. We got summer coming up as well. We are definitely
Mm-hmm.
going to see higher prices. Like I, here's the thing: is like I'm not good at price predictions, and I'm not good at sort of mapping out charts and fib extensions and knowing what exactly where's price going to go. But then in terms of a general trend, I do kind of see us might range around here for a bit. Would be really cool if we can obviously make new highs on Bitcoin after the halving for a little bit, but then we probably are gonna have a muted period in the summertime, I think, before TradFi comes back up in the autumn and we are off to the golden bull run.
Nice, love to hear it. And I think something that many will be interested in would
Yeah.
be what's your game plan for this cycle?
Uh,
Are you
Make a
going to
shit ton of
con-
cash, keep as much of it as I can, short the top, get the fuck out, buy the bottom. Yeah. So people always ask me like, all right, what's the tickers, what the coin? I'm like, but we don't know what ticker is gonna pop. You don't know what
exactly?
NFT is gonna pop. So that's why I don't like giving so much in terms of like, oh, I've got this coin is gonna be 100,000x. I'm like, yeah, it could be, but also it could get exploited and then just fucking goes to zero. A good example would be yield. Yield was
Mm-hmm.
like a nice trade for me recently because I managed to buy the little bit of the local bottom and then got back up and got out of it. But that shit is now what, $2-3, and when that price action was going on, it was like 5 to about 16, and then
Yep.
it dipped to about what, 7, 8. You know, um, and then it went up to 16 again. It was looking oh so good, and then boom, now it's $2. So I think the problem is that we do have retail coming in. I think retail is mostly buying Solana meme coins. It's like Whiff, Tremp, Bowden, all
Mm-hmm.
those coins are doing well. Even like the MAGA coin on ETH as well. But you're not seeing that enter into sort of the Ponzi coins so much yet. The more sophisticated yield farms and sophisticated tech and token emissions and all that crap. People are not going onto those yet, and I think it'll still take time for that to happen. But like what I was saying is that you've got all these new coins that have just come out, and I find the rotations for alts these days, there's so much more chains and tickers. The liquidity is just more spread out. So I find you got to try and find the liquidity before it comes. Obviously there was the soul rotation that we had last year, and even now we obviously had the base rotation recently. I mean, like Toshi was up. I remember seeing Toshi at what, 3-4 million market cap, and now it's what, 200 million. But I think the best plays are often looking for chains and ecosystems that are underlooked but do have catalysts to bring people on board with time. But like what I was saying previously about altcoins and tickets is that I think it's going to be a shit ton more stuff that's going to come out this year and even like early next year that will give a crap ton of returns to people who spot it early. And Puppets is such a good example because I can't remember what exactly the min price was, but then when I remember when they started getting listed, the price was what 0.015, 0.02 BTC, and then now they're what, zero point 0.2, and then on top of that, Bitcoin then was what, maybe what, 55, what, 45, 55K. Sorry, I remember the exact price. And then now Bitcoin's obviously higher, so you've got a really nice return off that. But then again, these are all coins that if you were eyeing ordinals at sort of the real bottom of them last year, all you really had to speculate on when it came to ordinals was Bitcoin frogs. Obviously, yeah, what ordinal Maxi Biz and a few other sort of blue chip collections on there, but you get me.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, are there any things that you're like specifically looking at, such as, for example, upcoming we have all the Eigen layer, right? LRTs are
Hmm.
gonna drop the token soon. We have
Hmm.
Parachain coming
Hmm.
pretty soon as well. And of course, some people are talking about Bitcoin L2s. Are there any specific categories that you're interested in or keeping an eye on?
I keep an eye on upcoming L1s. I think actually have good tech and actually do improve the blockchain space and have a chance of doing some really good returns. Obviously, like one good example that everyone is like salivating over is Monad. Everyone's trying to get a Monad
Mm-hmm.
ticket or trying to get in, but then there's tons of vesting or you got to fill certain ticket size, so on and so forth. But like that will be something where, as long as it launches out before the tail end of the bull market, I'm gonna yeet as much as I can into it, basically, on a spot trade. There's a couple of other L1s that I keep my eye on, but I'm not gonna drop the tickers here. That I do think are gonna be good plays for obvious reasons. I'm not gonna share it because I'm filled. But yeah, I like keeping an eye on all the different aspects of crypto. You have to. I think it is a little bit tougher this cycle in that aspect, where in the past all you really had to do is like, all right, I'm gonna buy ETH, I'm gonna buy a couple L1s, and that's it. Whereas now I do think if you want to really squeeze as much juice as you can, you should be looking at NFTs, AI coins, L1s, memes, and just seeing sort of the money rotation between them, and also looking for sort of different narratives that are going to come back really well that might have been just forgotten for a little bit. You know, like a really good example would be DGen on base. That
Mm-hmm.
shit, everyone thought it was gonna run towards 1 billion on the first parabolic run on what mid-February, you know, and then it basically died for about a month or so, and then it came back to life and ran what 10, 20x from the bottom, probably like 30x. So yeah, a good
Yeah,
example.
I think Degen did quite a huge run the
Yeah.
last few months, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were excited to bridge over on Degen chain itself, myself included, but
Yeah.
seems to have
Yeah.
died off for now at least.
Yeah, I think DJ Jim will come back. You know, I've got one of the meme coins on there that I bought super early, and I like just because my entry on it is genuinely so low. So I, even if it like minus 50% against me, I just don't care. You know, so
Mhm.
it's just sort of numbers on the screen for me now. But I do think Degen has a really good shot of just getting more people on board, being the forecaster coin. It's just a way to bet on base, you know, eventually if Coinbase can and will launch that base token in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, what's your take on base token since you're talking about it? Do you
It's
think
probably gonna come out.
they could launch a token? Would there be like any regulatory concerns?
I don't know, man. I feel like the United States has broken enough rules in the international space to not give a fuck if Coinbase launches a token or not. But that's me being like 60 IQ, super dumb take on it, you know. I think as they launch other ETFs and the space gets more recognition and it gets more regulated, then they'll eventually figure a way to drop it out because it's just free marketing, you know. Like, how good would it be if every Coinbase user suddenly got a free 200 to 500 bucks of base token, and all he had to do is just bridge onto their Coinbase wallet, connect it, and start aping stuff on chain, you know, or start buying stuff. It's just extremely free marketing and a good way for them to sort of incentivize users to come on board, you know. So why wouldn't it happen? Is sort of my base case is that it probably will happen. It's just more of you don't know exactly when and you don't know exactly the steps, but yeah. It's similar to like to the thesis on say like a Doge NFT, not Doge NFT, Doge ETF, where a lot of people would go like, "Bro, that makes no sense," but it probably will happen. You know, if you're gonna have an ETH ETF, like why the hell can't there be a Doge ETF? You know, the tech is relatively similar to Bitcoin. Obviously, there's no fixed supply. You know, obviously it's a Litecoin fork, but it's practically the same type of chain. You know, so yeah.
Man, I'm not so sure if I can agree on the Doge ETF. I hope it doesn't come so soon. Right, we
No,
have
I think
lots
it would
more
be
to
nice if
explore
it
before that.
does. Yeah, it's probably not gonna happen like I don't know in the next 3 4 months, but I do think it's probably gonna happen in the future. You know, because the boom is just one ways to allocate into the coins. You know, so if there's enough demand, it'll probably happen.
Yeah, I think when you said 3 to 4, I thought you were gonna say years, and you said months. Like
And
like Solana's
I'm a
probably
dude
gonna
in
ETF
between.
earlier, right?
Yeah, Soul ETFs will probably happen down the line, but I don't. The thing is, I don't really track the regulation stuff that much. I like just looking at the charts, looking at the prices, and so looking at the narratives coming up. You know, I think if like I've done really well this year, portfolio wise, just by not caring about the actual portfolio value and instead caring more about is the trade done, what's the next play, is it too risky, is it time to get out, is it time to get in, you know. So that's sort of the mindset I try to keep now. You know, whereas in the past I always would be tracking prices of coins of this. Do I need to rebalance? Do I need to do that? Whereas now it's more of, okay, coins run up. Is it going to run more? If it's not, okay, time to get out. What's another thing that hasn't run yet? All right, let me get into that. Oh shit, things overheated. All right, I'll take some off, you know? So, but I come
Yeah.
from a music background, so that's why I tend to approach crypto that way. I know a lot of dudes that enter crypto come from sort of TradFi or like engineering or science background. So then obviously they're much more happy and comfortable and adept with numbers and spreadsheets, you know? So, yeah.
No, I think reflecting based on your decisions and the
Yeah.
environment is a really good thing. Do you want to dive into the process of how you do it? What do you look for? Like, when should you get out? Or how do you determine what's a good trade so far? And yeah.
I mean, I always just look for sort of the downside risk. I try to mitigate that. And I always try and look for coins that have resilient PA or they're reclaiming ranges and resuming a breakout. That's pretty much it. So like, I did really nicely on Ghost, on Soul. I think now that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much it. But then I accumulated that in between 5 and 6 cents, and then sold the majority of it about, I think, in between 60 to 75 cents. You know, obviously, I didn't sell the top on that. It was hard to sell the top wick on that because at that time I was in a different time zone when it happened. So I basically saw the top wick like right as I fell asleep. And I was just basically monitoring the pump to see, like, all right, can it reclaim a higher range? And it just didn't reclaim that range after a few days. So I was like, all right, I'm already up more than 10x on this. This is a really good play. I'm out. So basic stuff like that. Obviously, you can use TA to check if a pump is exhausting. There are different indicators you can use. But I think the simple thing is just looking at the price action and going like, all right, would you, especially if you have a huge bag attached to a coin, you can have a bad bias. So I like to sort of take the bag away and you always look at the chart and just go, all right, if I was going to buy this now, does it look good or does it look bad? Does it look like it had a blow off top and now top buyers are trapped and it's probably going to eat like a minus 80% in the next 2 weeks? Or does it look like, oh shit, is just broken out of a range. It's just pumped about 10, 20%, but it looks incredibly bullish. No one's talking about it. It has completely not had any sort of signs of like overheatedness or like extreme volatility. Then that's when you go like, all right, it's time to slam it.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I think you're a lot more how should I phrase this? A lot more focused on the price action, I would say, before you go
Yeah,
into the research.
yeah, because I know everyone loves to fight about how their coin is the greatest tech or this or that, but it's like it can have the greatest tech, but if the buyers aren't there, why do you want to buy it? You can have the greatest tech play, but then unless you know that there's going to be a crowd of people that are going to buy and accumulate that coin, and then tell other people to buy it, like genuinely, what is the point of you buying that coin? You know, because if you're here in this market trying to make money, you should be looking at tokens, NFTs, L1s, whatever assets you want to call them. You should be looking and seeing, all right, what is the catalyst for people to buy it, and or what is the catalyst for people to sell it? And I think if you break it down into those, just cut out the tech, cut out the. I mean, obviously you have to pay attention there, but like cut out the tech, cut out the noise, and you focus on that. Then you can find stuff much more early. And obviously, sometimes the thesis is like absolutely stupid. Like it's a dog with a hat. Or it's a freaking cat with a bag. But
Yeah. It's
I
funny,
think
okay, Abe.
yeah, it's funny. All right, let's go in. Like oh, top sniper's finally out. All right, let's go in. You know, just basic stuff like that. I think a lot of people overcomplicate it so much, especially if they're new to crypto, or if they've been in like say for more than one cycle. Because I think if you focus on okay, good narrative, good catalyst, chart looks good, let's go. So that's it.
Yeah, I like that. Keep it simple.
Absolutely, man. Like this, I do not see the point in getting into arguments with anyone on this tech is better, that tech is better, like all that tribal stuff. Save that for people who are going to buy the top and back hold it all the way down and sell the bottom. Yeah, you're in here to sell it to them. You're not here to become one of them. So,
When the number goes up, the tech goes better.
bro, it's just like that, man. The tech always improves the price.
Okay, okay. Right. So I think I think I've covered more or less all the crypto stuff that
Yeah,
I want to talk about.
yeah.
Let's get to know more about yourself.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so I mean, let's start off with the daily routine, right? So like, how does it look like for you?
Yeah. I think daily routines are ridiculous as fuck, and people who obsess over them are really dumb. But I obviously do have some form of daily routine. So I usually try and meditate about twice a day. I'll try and exercise in some form every other day. Do MMA, kickboxing, jujitsu, that sort of stuff. It's just because I think a lot of people, especially if they're plugged into crypto, whether they're full time or they have a job with crypto, tend to sort of make it their whole lives, which is good. You know, if you're here to try and extract the best gains and run it up turbo, then you have to be plugged in. But I think having hobbies and having a mild social life with just people that you can spend time with outside of the space does a lot of good for your mental health. Because then you also just kind of put stuff into perspective, you know? Because you can get like a 50K airdrop from sibling something, but then you're going, shit, that guy got like 250K sibling it. And then meanwhile, you talk to one of your friends and they're like, bro, that's 50K, you know? Uh, because I do think that within crypto itself, there's not that they're wrong to obviously brag about numbers and size and all of that, but then we tend to underestimate how life changing the money that we make on a weekly, monthly, daily basis would be to someone else. And I think having that sort of perspective and obviously knowing that, okay, yeah, it's not that much, but then to, I don't know, single mom with 4 kids in a council house, like that's a shit ton of money, you know? So basic stuff like that. I got distracted to remind me what's the question again.
No, the question was your daily routine.
So daily routine, yeah. So try and meditate twice a day, exercise regularly. Usually I'll get up in the morning and once that's done, obviously checking the charts, checking the coins, checking Twitter, checking all of that. Then depending on the day to day, obviously there's different deal flows and things that get put on my table. So looking through pictures, looking through white papers, looking through various deals, and then just sort of going through those. And then once that's done, it's like I actually leave a lot of time open in my day just because I think you obviously need to be plugged in. You need to know what's going on and see the coins that are coming out. But then if you deliberately say like, all right, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on my fucking screen, then I think you're just gonna burn yourself out after a while, unless you're on stimulants and you're super young. So I like leaving a lot of open space. And then obviously if the market is hot, then my screen time increases a bit, you know. Like if there's gonna be a market wide pump or there's different rotations on the alts and I want to capture that, then I'm gonna just be sitting at my computer clicking away, you know. But then if that's not happening, if it's like a time of less volatility or it's just a meta that I'm not comfortable with or I just don't want to bother gambling, then it's time off. You know, it's space away to breathe, focus, have a clear mind.
Right. So you recently mentioned that you left your job. So maybe we could go a bit into that on why you left the job and what made you want to go crypto full time.
Pretty much, I literally just quit the job because I was like, okay, I already made more from trading and playing the on-chain game, like 3 4 years worth of the annual salary. So I was like, why the fuck am I still here? You know, so,
Yeah, man.
so it's true. Like, cause obviously, I think like, and because I'm a when it comes to like people wanting to quit and go full time crypto, I think like if you want to go full time, you really need to have some form of edge or you need to have some form of skill that is going to help you get the asymmetric rewards. If you are just like solo on chain and you're not consistent, and there's some months where you're up big, some months where you're just like minus 90% and you're running it again from like, I don't know, $500, then it's probably not a good idea to quit a regular source of cash flow. But then if you've run it to the point where you have a sizable stack, you have cash flow, not cash flow, but you have cash in the bank account, you have your expenses set aside for a couple of years, then yeah, I do think it's worth taking that risk now because we obviously had already a year of the recovery and like sort of early bull market, but then it's always the last few months or like the last, I don't know, like 6 to 12 months of a bull market where you really make the most outsized returns. So if you're listening to this podcast now and say it's like late 2025 or like mid 2025, please don't quit your job, you know, especially if you just bought crypto. You know, if you just bought it and you just got some nice gains and you're like, oh shit, I can do this full time. Like, there are bear markets, bro. There are bear markets. And if you're not prepared for it and if you're not good at securing and knowing how to take money off the table, you're probably going to get butt fucked out of your ass when it happens. So don't do that, you know? But then if obviously you're smart, you know how to play it right, you know how to manage your risk, manage having a stack of stables that you can live off for during sort of the next bear market, then yeah, I would say you can go for it. And the thing is that you need to have obviously you need the skills and the itch, but then you just gotta have the confidence that you can pull it off. You know, I know actually a good amount of people that quit really early on last cycle to just do crypto full time that started out with far less money than I started with in crypto, and they did much better than me. you know. And I think a lot of it was just boiling down to confidence and conviction. So if you're listening to this and before the end of 2024, yeah, you can probably go full time if you're really good. Just remember to take enough out at the top for a few years in case shit goes south. If you're listening to this right at the market top, bro, just don't go full time, man. Like, just stick to your job. You know? Like, stick to your job and buy the bottom. Yeah, you'll be all right.
Yeah, so you can do full time right now, right in 2024, and then find a job next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I mean, you technically can do that, you know. So,
Yeah, but
like even me, obviously, I would love to say that I'm confident that I'm gonna run it up turbo this cycle and not have to work a day in my life. But then I obviously have contingency plans in place. Like I know, all right, I'm gonna do this job. I'm gonna go study this and start this sort of business if it doesn't work out. Because don't hyper gamble without the clarity on like why you're doing it. You know, that's what I would say. If you're stupid enough to hyper gamble and get millions of meme coins, then disregard what I said. But if you're not stupid enough to do that, and you're smart enough to understand the risks that you're taking on, then you might want to look at both sides of it. You know, so yeah. And then obviously, if you're like uber intelligent, then just do you and kill it. You know, I want to see people make it this time. So yeah.
yeah, and also you kind of mentioned that you see the cycle top being somewhere in mid to late 2025.
Yeah, the thing is, obviously, everyone is saying that's going to be November 2025, which then makes me go, ah, it's probably going to top earlier. We really just don't know. I think you'll have to just look for when we lose the bullish market structure. You know, once we lose that, there's a dead cat that gets rejected, then yeah, just sell it. You know, no one's going to time the top. You know, like unless you're GCR or an extremely good trader, is highly unlikely you will. And I think expunging your mind of like, oh, I could have had this much instead of just looking at, oh shit, I'm still up so much from the bear market bottom. I've done so well this cycle. Then you might as well cash out with the liquidities here. There's a guy on Twitter I really like, Aiden. His handle is Thoughtful Trade, I think. And ages ago, he tweeted about how there's so many people that are extremely greedy in a bull market when even a fraction of what they had at the bull market peak would be gold to them at the bear market bottom. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind is that we're going to see some really crazy pumps from altcoins, from majors. We're going to see absolute degenerate nuts stuff happen this cycle. You know, people who are saying, oh, it's not going to be as crazy as last time. I'm going like, nah, dude, it's going to be more nuts. Like, have you not seen the soul meme coins already? Like, we weren't having that this time last year, you know? Not this time last year, but like last cycle, you get me? So yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Remind me.
Yeah, talking about the cycle top in mid to late
Oh yeah,
2025.
cycle top May. So yeah, like once it's lost that bullish structure, then just get the hell out. You know, like forget about how much you had at the top. It doesn't really matter. You know, secure some of your freedom at the minimum. You know, sell a good chunk of it. You know, if you really still believe, just leave like I don't know 10-20% so you don't feel so bad. But then Kobe had a really good bit about this in one of his up only episodes. He said that because he was always able to cash a good amount out when he thought things were getting heated, he had the clarity to then see when things were nearing the bottom and then just buy in then. And I think it's simple, it's stupid, but that works, and that works really, really well. You know, but obviously that means you have to trade against yourself because when everything's pumping up and we're really close to that cycle top, nobody is going to think that the cycle is over. Everyone's going to think it's going to keep going on forever. You're going to think it's going to go on forever. Everyone's yelling at it, and then sort of the rug gets pulled one day when you wake up and boom, everything's down like 40-50%. You know, so just be careful of that.
Yeah, man. You know, the last cycle kind of top during Luna, and then now with Etina, the airdrop just launched, right? It makes me think, would that happen at the same time?
Uh, it'll be interesting to see. I think we are going to see a huge leverage collapse at the end of this cycle again. Like something that a lot of people should try and study up more, or at least understand, is that credit tools fuel speculation, and having the tools that gives you liquidity to buy more and to lever up, that's what leads to all of these big pumps. You know, obviously there's different examples like just liquid shitcoins having people running into the liquidity pool, so on and so forth. But I'm thinking of stuff like Ohm, where the ability to borrow against it and just buy it again. That obviously led to a huge rise because that thing, what, went from what, $100 bottom all the way to 1,400 at the top last cycle. Even stuff like Wonderland Time, same thing as well. You know, so, or even like just DeFi, where people were able to finally put their ETH into Aave, a compound, borrow against it, buy more ETH, put it back in. That sort of layering is what tends to fuel all these crazy bubbles. So I think when people are worried about a leverage collapse from Athena or whether Eigenlayer or whether restaking, it's probably going to come. But you can probably sell your bags before that happens. Just maintain a level head.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely will be a bit more wary this time. I was caught during the last time that the whole market talk happened, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's going much higher, man. Up only.
Now, I think the biggest risk when you're coming into the market as like a second cycler is that you have too much PTSD and you avoid sort of the coins and the easy trades that someone in their first or third cycle would automatically get. So I think it's just disabling the PTSD and sort of going, all right, this is going to help contribute to buying pressure on the token. All right, let's give it a shot. So,
Yeah, man. I hope so. Yeah. And what about your hobbies, man? Like, you mentioned you're from a music background, and in your
yeah,
Telegram chat and your Telegram channel, right? You talk a lot
yeah.
about like some weird medications and I don't know some chemical names that I've never seen. So interested
Yeah,
to hear more
a
about
lot of
that.
that stuff from like Ray Pete. So I got a pretty bad reaction to COVID when I got it sometime in 2020. So then I got into all this esoteric, crazy health stuff as a way to just get rid of the after effects. Obviously now I'm feeling a lot better and I'm fully recovered from it. There's no issues. But before that, it was pretty bad for quite a few months, and it was just by sort of doing a lot of research and trying all sorts of different protocols and supplement regimens and different diets, and yeah, that was how I sort of accumulated knowledge over time. Uh, I I just like reading about different topics and different fields as much as I can. I'm someone that went to university, but I think most universities are a scam because you can honestly educate yourself on all these topics much faster and much cheaper just online using something like Library Genesis, and reading up and making sure obviously you're reading from the right sources. But I I really enjoy learning, yeah, and I think it just keeps your brain alive. So that's why that's why like my Twitter account and channel and like people who chat to me always sort of go like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it's always just something new.
Yeah, bruh. Like you just pop in some pharmaceutical term here and there, talking about I don't know what.
Yeah, I think recently I've been experimenting in methylene blue, so that's pretty cool if you ever want to try it. It's just a compound that helps a lot with mitochondrial health and cell respiration. And the less chim version of that is basically it just helps your body function more strongly, and most
Thank
people
you.
can tolerate it even to high doses. So yeah.
Thanks for translating it there to English.
I know that, I know that. No, sometimes I'm too chim for my own good also, so I try to dumb it down.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thanks for thanks for that.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's about it from my side. Let's
Yeah.
wrap things up soon. Right, it's about
Yeah.
45 minutes or so right now.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
let's end off with the usual three questions that I end off with the
Yeah.
first one being, what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Don't take life so seriously. Try and enjoy it a little bit more. I know everyone is screaming about sacrifice your weekends and it's a generational opportunity of a lifetime and all that crap, which is true. It is true to a good degree. When the market is hot, you should be tapped in, you should be plugged in. But if it's not, try and enjoy life a little bit. I think your your teenage years and your 20s go by very, very quickly. You don't need to spend them all on drugs and hookers and partying like crazy, but you should spend it just living a nice life and not being too stressed. That's my honest take on it. Use stress is good, obviously. Like having a good level of stress of things that you find fulfilling or engaging. Right. A good example of that kind of stress might be trying to learn Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto Number Two. I still haven't learned that fucking piece. I only made it past for like the first. I think I only got past like the first two pages, but even so, it's super slow. But learning something like that is super engaging, even though obviously it's a stress. You need to learn, oh, where do I put my fingers? What fingering do I use? How do I do the dynamics? How do I get the phrasing in? But that's engaging and helps your brain stay fluid, stay nimble, which obviously helps a lot in crypto as well, because this is what you're trying to do here. Whereas if you compare that to working a really stressful day job for 8, 10 hours a day, you got tons of projects going on, you got all that, and then you're trying to take crypto off that, your brain's just not going to function well, so like, biggest piece of advice I give my younger self is like, take care of your health, take care of your brain, don't take life too seriously, focus on things that give you meaning. Yeah. And if you play the game well, the money comes, I think that's the biggest one, because a lot of people are trying to like zero to hero immediately. Whereas if you just honestly stack good plays and good traits and you find your edge within the space, or you find a way to network with the right people where you get spoon fed the best things to buy and when to de-risk and stuff like that, like the money comes, you know? So yeah, God
Mhm.
will provide if we want to be super religious. Yeah.
Nice. Right, and then the next one would be, what's your greatest takeaway from crypto?
Uh, Democracy is kind of retarded because the people are retarded. No, I mean, but as stupid as it, that's kind of the biggest takeaway. The biggest takeaway I always find from crypto is just, you see how both smart and intelligent people are, and you also see how stupid people are. You just see the plight of the human condition in a microcosm, because you see all these different protocols and bubbles and narratives take place. If you see how tribal people get, I would say, like, one of the big things you can take away from crypto is just seeing how human psychology works and how people think. So,
I think that's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. And then the final question is, to help me grow this podcast, could you give three
Yeah.
guest nominations for the pod?
Okay. There's Mark. So that's OutPXCE on Twitter. He's great. Freaking Zuma with his Zen addiction, but he's very good. Smiley Capital, obviously, one of my good friends. Let me think of a third one. Yeah, probably Aiden, Thoughtful Trade, if you can ever get him on a podcast, because he's a little bit more of a quiet dude, moves in the shadows. But if you get him to talk about the markets, I think he's one of the smartest dudes in the space. So, yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. We'll be tagging
I'm not
them
going to give you
down.
like the big influencer names because we already know those. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's good. Actually, that's good. Like, then we get to hear more different perspectives, and especially
Yeah.
if, like you mentioned, Aiden is not
Yeah.
as vocal, and then if you can
Yeah.
get him on, then that'd be great.
Yeah. I think also I'm Chumbawamba 22 on Twitter. If you could get him to talk about how he apes shit coins and how he spots stuff, he is one of the best I've ever seen on chain. So yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. And really appreciate you taking the time today to come and share your thoughts. And of course, I know you are starting your own podcast as well, right? You had the recent first episode. So
Yeah.
all the best on that.
That was fun. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing your trading journey over the next, over the next cycle, right? Over this cycle.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time, and thank you to the audience for tuning into this episode. We will see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Appreciate the time.
That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Before you go, do remember to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you never miss a thing. Comment down below what you liked about this episode, who you would like me to interview next, or any topics that you want to learn more about. Until next time, this is Moose moving out.